Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the WGLNA Season 4. This week is the bye week. I'm Joshua Clutchgray, joined on the set by Randall Rulkill Holcomb. And tonight is Talking Tanks. We're going to break down what's happening with the different teams in the Alpha and the Bravo division, the storylines, and how their performances could measure out to the road to the finals, which will be happening at the end of the season. We've passed week number 4, 3 more weeks left of season play. Rulkill, we're seeing some upsets, and we're seeing some teams do a lot better than we thought they were.
Yeah, I'm surprised by performances out of the Googly Bobbers, for example, especially with Refuse to Die, just not performing the way I would expect from teams like Googly Bobbers. Refuse to Die, of course, being the team that surprised us all by actually being able to win against a team that was a finalist in previous seasons.
It seems that even though it's a good precursor for a lot of the expectations for some of the teams out of the Season 3 finals that had happened back in February, that is not where a lot of our predictions are going with a lot of these teams, and we're going to break that down. First, the Alpha Division. Simp leading the charge with 10 league points. Top tier right behind him with 9. Fun Gaming with 9, tied up for those 3 wins and 1 loss. Hashtag RU with 6. RBIS with 6. Simple Tankers, 1 win only and 3 losses with 3 league points. Victoria's Secret right behind them, tied up. And C'est La Vie at the bottom of the Alpha Division. Simp, is it the biggest surprise? No. Let's talk about that team first. Yeah. With their standings, 4 wins, 1 of them being a tiebreaker win, means they have 10 league points. Is this the same team that we saw in San Francisco? Yes, it is. They're patient. Maybe a little bit timid at the beginning, but that's to shake off a little bit of the rust, a little bit of the cobwebs after their performance at the Season 3 finals and also at the Global Finals in Warsaw, Poland. And they played against top tier in their first week, and it was a good series.
It was a 3-0. Completely wiped them.
Yeah.
Absolutely dominant play from Simp. And that second week, that was actually the one that surprised me the most. C'est La Vie, 3-1.
Yeah, they morphed into a punishing team up against C'est La Vie. And they went to the brink again against Simple Tankers into the tiebreaker. They won against Simple Tankers because they did more damage. And this was more on the Simple Tankers side. Could they meet the measurement, really, of beating Simp? Not yet. And they're having a tough time right now based on where they need to go to the finals. So in week 4, Simp did very well against Victoria's Secret. 3-1 with 1 draw. The draw happening on Abbey, which, expectations for that type of map, it can go that way. But is Simp going to make it to the finals, do you think?
Of course. They're going to be one of our top 2. They have every single member of their team just spitting out disgusting damage. You've got Blue Boys, Crimson Corsair, Heavy 20, and Sing. All of them tier 8 players that are just so dominant. If it was just one of them on any other of the top teams that we have in the league, just sitting there in that 2nd, 3rd, 4th place in the bracket, that team would be propelled so much higher. And together, this team is incredibly dominant. I mean, think about the combo of a Droxus and Heavy 20. Those 2 IS3s on any city map make the difference between any fight, from it being even close to just throwing completely in the favor of Simp.
All right. Well, they're on the right track to make it to the finals. Anything can happen in these couple weeks, but I'm pretty sure they're going to make a strong appearance in the rest of the season. Top tier is the team we're going to talk about next. They're 3 wins and 1 loss, means they have 9 league points. Their best map has been on Himmelsdorf so far based on their performance. The best map for Simp was on Mines. Now, Vlacho is performing at bro my gosh mode. This guy's doing so much damage. He is leading the charge for his team when it comes to damage output.
And that was only recently that he was able to actually get to that top. Before, it was E63M6, who was in early matches against, for example, Simp and Arbis, being the top performer. Vlacho very recently against, I think it was Victoria's Secret, was able to make himself the top damage dealer for his team.
The biggest surprise we saw out of top tier was what they were trying to do on Mines against Simp. That crazy Eastern strat. That C'est La Vie tried to do the same thing. It's not working. Don't do it. Simp was completely prepared for that type of play. And they got their act together against RBIS, a team that is trying to prove themselves in the Gold League for the first time. 3-1 victory. They had a beautiful counter on Himmelsdorf. And then another 3-1 win against Victoria's Secret. And then they had a nice win against hashtag RU in week number 4. So they're looking strong with those 3 wins. They have the locomotion, but they still have their biggest obstacle left in the way, and that is Simple Tankers. Can top tier in the performance position they have today, can they beat Simple Tankers?
Or is that the time when Simple Tankers is going to perform the way they did against Simp? Well, it seems like when Simple Tankers is under pressure against very competent teams, they perform very well. But many times they just kind of slip up. Top tier is the kind of team that's a finalist team, and I think that's going to be a big heavyweight match where top tier attempts as hard as they can to win, but they're going to have a hard time against a team like Simple Tankers.
Yeah, it will be a tough fight, but Simple Tankers is going to be in a must-win scenario. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Let's talk about #RU. Here's a team that's been all over the place when it comes to the spectrum. They lost their first series against Fun Gaming. 2 draws initially. We're thinking, all right, #RU, where's this power? Where's the bear that we saw from Season 3? And their best map so far has been Himmelsdorf. They have 2 wins, 2 losses, 6 league points right now. The struggle is real with #RU when it comes to how they're trying to perform. We are seeing hesitation a lot of times with this team.
Yeah, and I don't know how they're going to be able to continue to perform in the rest of the season. I thought Fun Gaming would be easy for them. Then they went against Simple Tankers. Then they went against Arbis. Arbis maybe not as the most intimidating name, but Arbis was a very close series. That was a 3-2. Then top tier. Next is Simp. What do you expect it to do? That is a dangerous bracket. In previous seasons, you'd look at a bracket and you'd see a few teams, like 3 teams that are incredibly dangerous. Now a team like #RU has to go up against match after match after match of absurd teams. And I'm not sure where they are right now in this league, because after losing to Fun Gaming, like you said, I didn't know how good they were anymore. Then they beat Simple Tankers, and I thought they were the best team in the league. And then they beat Arbis, and I'm still thinking they're great. But then they fought top tier.
This is the context of their opponents, right?
Yeah.
The biggest win, the biggest surprise for us was a huge comeback they had against Simple Tankers. It was beautiful. Simple Tankers was more surprised than anyone, obviously, against #RU. But that gets into, they have the wins, but against what kind of teams? Against RBIS, contextually, this is a team that's joining us for the first time in the Gold League. Are they talented? Yes. Should they be underestimated? No. But they've got to beat teams that are better than RBIS to make it to the finals. That's clear. And Simp is one of those teams. So #RU still has the spark. They still have the fire. They still have the potential. But it's a long road ahead for them in these next couple weeks. Moving on, let's talk about Simple Tankers. We brought them up a lot here.
Man.
1 league win and 3 losses. They're in a tough place. They're in a must-win scenario. And it's tough for them to be in that spot because they don't like to be in this place. They wanted to focus on group play. And they had a great just 3-0, boom, boom, boom win against C'est La Vie in the first week. But back to what I was talking about, the context of their opponent. C'est La Vie has no wins this season. And when it came to week number 4, Simple Tankers lost against Fun Gaming. One of the biggest upsets of that night in week number 4.
I felt like Simple Tankers just did not play up to the level we were expecting them to. They're a team that, when they played Simp, it was absolutely brilliant. It was one of the best matches I've ever watched in North American World of Tanks. And then against Fun Gaming, that did not appear at all on the same level as Coordinated. I don't know if it was because Fun Gaming was like just
a lot of
different in some way that gets confusing.
Yes, that's the best way to describe it, Rukil, is that they're different. They are waiting for Simple Tankers to make a move and completely punish them for it.
But
completely
Simp does
punish
that.
them for it.
Simp is a team that does that, and they did very, very well against that. In this case, it didn't appear quite as competent when they faced Fun Gaming.
Maybe they're still looking their wounds from Simp. But also, you take a look at where that was happening. It's happening on the closed-off maps. You put Simple Tankers on Prohorovka, their best map. You put them J-Smooth. You put J-Smooth WZ-132 or at AMX 1390. You get them aggressive. They're going to win. They have performed so well on open maps this season, but it's the closed-off maps that it's really not happening. And it was a very close loss that they had against #RU. That was the best series we have seen in Season 4 so far.
I might agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
It was a very, very good match.
they brought Sim to a shootout. Where do they need improvement? We're going to have to find out where they have to measure their improvement when it comes to the rest of the season. Moving on, talking about RBIS here. They're 2-2. 2 wins, 2 losses.
That's really good.
A team that's joining us for the Gold League for the first time is now besting veterans in moving into week number 5 as we're in the bye week.
Well,
They're looking good.
Yeah, but the thing is they fought Victoria's Secret first. Their rivals from the Silver League. They won that. That was a great match.
The most experienced team that they've had pretty much against in the Silver League.
Yeah, and that was actually an incredible match. Not to discredit Victoria's Secret, but I felt like that wasn't their hardest one. I felt like they knew their opponent well enough, and so that actually allowed them to do that well. Top Tier and #RU were both losses, and while #RU was a close loss, Top Tier was not quite as close. It was still well fought. Then, of course, they fought C'est La Vie. And like everyone else who has faced C'est La Vie, it was a win.
It was a win. But let's look at their performance when it came to #R2 or #RU, excuse me. 2-3 loss. Very, very close. Very close. #RU, I guess, likes to play from behind because they keep winning that way, at least with their wins. This is the overall question for a lot of these teams that are joining us for the first time in the Gold League. We might repeat ourselves here as we assess some of these different teams, is that can they make it to the finals here? Possibly. But it's not the safest bet you can make in their division. Can they make it into the finals next season? As long as they continue to progress the same way we've seen them progress since the beginning of this season, yes, they can.
I think that a team like Arbis is definitely top 8 material. Very well could make it this season. Next season, I mean, that's a really strong statement to make because all of these other teams are improving so well. The question is, can Arbis improve at a greater rate?
I think they can.
You think so?
Yeah.
And I might agree with you because of players like Ox Mathis, but I'm afraid that players like Ox Mathis might get picked up by another team because of his high levels of performance. He is the top performer on Arbis as far as damage. He has great accuracy. He is a great pickup for any other team that wants to get new talent in there.
Let's talk about Victoria's Secret. Their rivals from the Silver League. They're 1-3, and their most impressive play was against Fun Gaming. Not only do they call it more or less in the face-off that they had with the camping gear behind them, but they outplayed them. They knew exactly what to do on every map against Fun Gaming. It was a beautiful sight to see, and if you can go back and watch that VOD, we highly recommend you do so. That is one of my favorite engagements, storyline-wise, overall. But that's it. That's the only win that they have had. They had a well-fought but close loss against RBIS, and that comes to kind of, I don't want to say a flip of the coin, because obviously RBIS is a good team, but it could have gone either way based on the performance in the past between
Exactly.
the two.
I actually want to hit up on a point that you made about when they fought Fun Gaming, and it's that I think they play their opponent. Whoever their opponent is, they study up, they prepare for that opponent. If they face Simp, they are preparing for Simp. They do not play the same way against Simp as they will play against Top Tier. There was some similarity, however, between the way they played Simp and they played Fun Gaming. Not at all like how they played Arbis. That is the kind of team that says they know their opponent, and that is one of their keys to victory. They will always study their opponent. They will always be prepared to fight you.
Well, let's look at their toughest opponent in the entire division, Simp. They knew what to do on Prohorovka. Simp went to the eastern side. Victoria's Secret waited slightly. They didn't try to meet them on the east side. They didn't try to fight for the hill. They went for the flag cap, and they got it. They got it. They met him in the middle, near the railroad tracks. They got that win on that one map. They lost the rest of the maps. They lost the series, but they were able to measure out how to stop Simp on that map, and it worked for them. And that's a step in the right direction. All right, moving on after Victoria's Secret. Let's talk about C'est La Vie.
Oh.
Bottom of the division right now, 4 losses. Tough place to be. Some teams can commiserate, if you will, with C'est La Vie because they've been in the same spot before in previous seasons.
I feel like they're improving, though. Against Simple Tinker, it was 0-3, right? Then against Simp, it was a 1-3. They actually managed to take one off of Simp. And that's an accomplishment. C'est La Vie shows the potential with the 1-3. And that's with attendance issues, and that's with people not showing up. That's with the mountains of frustration that team was under. And then they go up against Fun Gaming, and they still go to a 2-3. That's impressive. I think C'est La Vie has a chance. They probably won't make it to our finals. They probably won't be top 8.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they deserve a place here, and they can compete.
The two things about C'est La Vie I really want to hit hard is, one, they're sticking to their strengths, but their strengths are becoming a weakness. And we talked about this in week 4 based on their flag cap crutch. They kept going for the flag cap over and over and over again in one of their series. And even though it was a good strategy, it wasn't the best strategy at that time. Or they stood too long on the flag cap when the brawl started to start.
So you think they flag cap too much?
Well, I think that they're holding on to flag caps too long. They're holding on to the, hey, we won one against Simp. Let's just keep doing this. You have to adapt to your opponent. Still use that as a strength, but refine it. Make it better. The second thing is C'est La Vie's biggest struggle, and that's having their individual players on their team showing up for the matches. That's what they've been struggling with, and it's tough. Callis has changed leadership. He's no longer the leader of the team. It's now gone to Big Cheese. Yeah. That's one of the biggest changes that's happened for one of our teams here. Hopefully, more of those changes will allow them to find the right mix, the right recipe for them to get success here. Saying that, though, let's move on to Fun Gaming, the last one in the Alpha Division. I'm surprised by this team.
Yes.
Should we still be surprised, though? Because this is a team that won LAN tournaments in Russia. And even though this is a different monster to tackle, an online tournament, they are impressing me.
I feel like their play style makes it hard to read their actual skill. Because there were times like against Victoria's Secret when they got countered out super hard, and it made them look like all they were was a team that sat still and camped, and that was and they got that kind of reputation that America likes to give to people who play passively and defensively. But when they won against #RU and they won against C'est La Vie, and then finally against Simple Tankers, that's the Simple Tankers one has changed my mind. #RU I thought was a fluke. C'est La Vie, honestly, I wasn't surprised. Simple Tankers was the one that probably can turn me to the side that you're talking about.
Yeah. The thing with Fun Gaming is that it's hard for me to get that image out of my head of them drawing twice against #RU. And to hear the words coming from Refuse to Die of, we're going to punish them for camping. This is not a place for campers. And you get that sense from what the words and the rumors were happening about Simp from Season 3. And Simp proved that wrong. And they stood their ground and they said, this is the way that we play the game and we're going to prove that it's effective. They did in Season 3. Fun Gaming is trying to prove the same thing. They do belong here, yes. They made their way through the qualifier. They're going to keep winning hearts and minds. They're going to keep winning fans by continuing to generate these type of upsets against Simple Tankers. Is it different? Is it slow? Yes. Does it get results? Yes. And in the end, that's what America wants. They want results. Just like what Patton said, we can't tolerate a loser. We don't want a loser. And that's what we're going to see on the record books. Did they win or did they lose? Let's take a look at next week's matches. These are the matches happening for the Alpha Division on Thursday. Victoria's Secret versus C'est La Vie, Top Tier versus Simple Tankers, RBIS versus Fun Gaming, and Simp versus #RU. Each one of those matches I'm really looking forward to. Victoria's Secret versus C'est La Vie, I feel this is going to be a big match for C'est La Vie to prove that they have some fight left in them.
And, of course, Victoria's Secret gets to continue to see if they can dominate and rack up the points. If C'est La Vie stays the way their record's been going, it's not going to be that great for them. I'm also looking out for Simp versus #RU.
Oh, yeah.
#RU last season was so close, and they lost to Hammer Time. And Hammer Time was such an exceptional team last time. They only lost out because of the way draws happened and the tiebreaker. This season, if #RU is looking a lot stronger, and I think they are, they might be able to bring it to Simp. Every team that fights Simp is just a team you're waiting for them to upset.
Can they do it? Can they do it? Well, #RU is another contender. As a reminder, please follow us on Twitter at WGLNA, Facebook.com/WGLNA, and make sure to use that hashtag WGLNA as we get ready to talk about the Bravo Division. One of my favorite storylines of this entire season is how dangerous Fnatic is. Let's take a look. Fnatic. Season 1, champions. Season 2, champions. Season 3, a team formerly known as Fulcrum Gaming, joins one of the largest and most established esports organizations in the world. The hype train was real. They seemed unstoppable until they lost.
Nagatron is on the run. Can they do it? And he's running for his life on Prohorovka. One shot left until Simp is able to do it. He returns fire. A couple misses, but they get it. Simp is your champion.
Months later, the Global Grand Finals, Simp and Fnatic represent the WGLNA region. Now, Simp has an impressive run, but they get knocked out, leaving Fnatic the only hope for America. Now, Fnatic was up against one of the ultimate underdogs of the tournament, the PvP Super Friends from Southeast Asia. It seemed that Fnatic was destined for top 4, and then the impossible happened.
He aims at a free hit, but he misses, and he goes down. That's it. PvP Super Friends have taken out Fnatic. They're going through to Unity. Look at Batman kicking his computer over in excitement.
But the Grand Finals itself was pretty much everything going wrong, and it was just a landslide of everything going against us, and we didn't do our job. We didn't carry through. A lot of the other teams just ask us. They're like, "Why are you saddling problems of the format and taking it upon yourself? It's not your job. That's the developer's job. Why don't you just play to win?" Winning is, in what way would we be winning? Short term or long term? Because we can take a couple prizes and walk home with it, and that's nice money and everything. Or we can build a league that's absolutely stellar to watch, get salaries and a whole lot more money, and just a whole lot more career options, and a lot more benefits in general. It's what all of us really want to do.
Fnatic has diverged. They've changed their philosophy, their outlook on the game. Rather than try to convert the nature of the game, they're going to play to win.
My expectation for Fnatic in Season 4 is number 1. That's it. We're not messing around this season at all. The fun and games in practice or otherwise, for me, are over. I want to not drop a single game in the entire season. That's my goal. I want to play cold, professional, in a way that just makes people terrified because they feel like they have no control.
The gloves are off. If Fnatic needs to camp, they're going to camp. They need to push, they're going to push. They suffered that heartbreak loss. They know the bitterness of defeat, and they never, ever want to go through that again. That's why in Season 4, Fnatic is the most dangerous team. And I stick with that sentiment. They are the most dangerous team this season. Let's take a look at the Bravo standings right now as we continue our discussion here, Talking Tanks. I'm Joshua Clutchgrade, joined by Randall Rukel-Holcomb. Randall, I don't know which division has been more surprising, Alpha or Bravo, but as we take a look at the Bravo division, Fnatic, no surprise here. 4 wins, 12 league points. Cunningham's right behind him, 3 wins. One of those wins was a tiebreaker, 1 loss, 7 points. Bernal Empires tied up with Refuse to Die, 2 wins, 2 losses, 6 league points. Hammer Time, 2 wins. One of them was a tiebreaker. That was up against Bernal Empires. They have 4 league points, tied up with River of Blood. The tiebreaker they won was against Refuse to Die. Googly Bobbers having some trouble. Yeah. 1 win, 3 losses. And in the bottom, we have Gong Fu with 4 losses and 0 league points.
Yeah, just a very surprising situation to be in for a number of those teams. We have teams that were finalists, top 8 finalists of Season 3 that are sitting at the bottom of a bracket. Makes no sense to me.
Now, there's still 3 weeks that anything can happen.
Sure.
Plus, you have tiebreakers if that's the case, and then the playoffs. But, yeah, this is a surprising place to be in after Week 4 is completed in the bye week. Let's talk about Fnatic first. Are we surprised that they're undefeated? No. They've only lost 2 battles from our count so far overall. They've lost no matches. They're currently undefeated. Their best map has been Ensk. And in the past, we would mention that Himmelsdorf has been the map that they've actually had losses on, but they're doing better on Himmelsdorf. We talked to Jackie Rito last week, and that's what he said.
Yeah, the reason I think that they just don't do well on Himmelsdorf is it's the one map that anyone can execute very, very well because the answers to it are well rehearsed by most teams and well understood by everyone. It's not as complex as some other maps can be.
It's where a lot of teams learn a lot of good fundamentals. Like it's the first map you choose to learn how to play 7x42, and based on different avenues. And also, if you cut out the hillside at the beginning, you recognize, okay, there's a big place in the center, knowing how to get around it, knowing where to set up those flanks. There's plenty of avenues to try. The dual lanes, the G lane, the D lane. That's how a lot of that can work as well.
It can be deep and intricate. It's just that Fnatic understands, I think, that is the one map that if someone plays well enough, there's not too much you can do. There's an answer, two-way position. If you execute it, you will win.
But this is what Fnatic does better than any other team, besides Simp, some would say, is that they work as a team together. They know where to put themselves in every scenario on any map. Steps being a really good situation. They had one of their tanks all the way to the north. They had a sweeping cross for 2 tanks to get towards the most dangerous position to stop the push from the south, and they were good to go after that. It's really good tactical play that's lining up in the right time in the right place on all the maps that they're playing. So what do they need to do to improve? Just keep doing what they're doing. Every performance in every role has been stellar so far. Can they defeat Simp this season? That's the biggest question that maybe we're going to answer at the finals. We don't know yet. But is there a strong contention between those two teams based on what they're doing? Fnatic is not pushing out at the beginning. They're waiting, and they're doing those 3-minute timers, especially on Ensk, which makes it their best map so far. Yep. Very impressive play coming out of Fnatic. They have changed, and that's what makes them scary, man. I don't know what to expect from them. Hammer Time's the next team we're going to talk about. They are doing okay right now. This is one of the teams you mentioned that they did stellar last season, and now it's kind of back and forth with this team.
Well, the loss against Fnatic is no big surprise, and that started their season. So they started with a bad record that if they beat Fnatic, it would have been absolutely phenomenal, but Fnatic is Fnatic. I mean, you cannot expect that match to go in favor of Hammer Time most days of the week. Burnout Empires is a win. Gung Fu is a win. I mean, what else are you going to expect from Hammer Time?
Well, you look at why they did so well against Fnatic is that it was very, very small timings and small movements. They countered almost everything Fnatic was doing and vice versa, and Fnatic had to spend a lot of time trying to find errors, and so did Hammer Time. And Hammer Time took a battle off mines on Fnatic. So there's a small victory there. But it comes down to small adjustments. What happened against Bernal Empires? That's the biggest question. What happened? They were down. Bernal Empires kind of threw it on Prohorovka.
Yeah.
Then it swung into their favor, and it brought them to a tiebreaker, and they were able to get the defensive position because they did more damage.
I think the real question is what happened against the Cunninghams. That was a match that I don't understand. I never will maybe understand why Hammer Time was playing how they were.
Well, I really like the IS-6 strat that they brought.
It's cool and all, but it just doesn't seem characteristic.
Yeah.
Last Thursday we played.
Yeah, in week 4.
Yeah, week 4, last Thursday, they brought that IS-6 thing, and it was just so strange.
But it worked.
It works, yes, but it's like, just because it works doesn't mean it's actually...
Top tier 2.0.
Yeah.
More or less.
It's like, that strat might work once. It might probably not work again. I don't think so.
Well, it worked for that one battle, and sometimes you have to play that card once, and then you burn it, and it's gone. But they can put it back in their pocket, maybe use it at a later time against a different...
You're putting ashes back in your pocket.
Oh, you don't have to burn it. You don't have to burn it.
Then it's not a burn.
All right, let's move on and talk about Cunningham's here. 3-1-1. One of the 3 wins was a tiebreaker. 7 league points right now. Their best map is on Ents. They play this map super tight. Super tight, and they did that against Hammer Time last week. It was nice to see that type of play, and it comes down to where do you get the first initiation off Ensk, and that's what a lot of these teams are trying to accomplish. It was a draw, but it was because they had done enough damage on each side not to create an engagement, not to push that engagement, and sometimes that's the best way to stop, an opponent. Let me do enough damage and wait for you to try to adjust, and it didn't turn out to be a battle win, but they're doing very well on that map overall.
Well, the thing is, the Cunninghams, they look great, yes. But, for example, Hammer Time, I didn't feel like I was enjoying their playstyle very much. It didn't seem just like Hammer Time, quite the Cunninghams I was used to. And the thing is, they lost to the Googly Bobbers. That was a surprising instance. Bernal Empire's a win, Refused to Die a win. Cunningham seems like a finals team. But we've been going over this again and again. Does it seem like on open maps the Cunninghams are relying too much on Commander J, or he's trying to carry too much weight?
Yes. Yeah, they're putting too much weight on too few shoulders. And is that a management thing? Is it a commanding thing? No. It's an expectation. It's where they're finding themselves in the mid game or the late game. It comes down to the performance of these players that are more flexible compared to others. Some of that is circumstantial based on RNG that can happen or an ammo rack happens. But it comes down to you keep having this top heavy performance of these players, and if they get knocked out earlier on in the battle, GG. A good game. That's what's happening a lot of times.
Yeah, and oddly enough, I think they're trying to avoid maps where they have to rely on Commander J as much, because you saw that in their Hammer Time match. They didn't seem to be playing on maps where Commander J was forced to scout as
It's
much.
great to have superstars. Commander J was MVP last season. You got to spread it out, though, and that just comes from the bottom lifting up rather than the top trying to say, hey, do your job. It just has to equalize out. Googly Bobbers, 1 win, 3 losses, 3 league points. The 1 win was quite a surprise. They were back against the ropes, and they came out fighting. It was really cool to see. Their best map? None. They've not had consistent wins or even draws, you could say, on any maps. They've been all over the place with the map choices, or their opponents have at least as well.
Yeah, that's just the thing about the Googly Bobbers. They're an absurd group of guys. You'll see them sometimes do something incredibly competent. Spoon, who's been showing up more lately, will do something that looks great, do some great scouting, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he'll just walk out into the open, and you'll sit there and you'll go, why, Spoon, why? And the rest of the Googly Bobbers will be scrambling to support him.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll just see just crazy stuff. I don't know. The Googly Bobbers are just going to keep bobbing up and down in performance. They're going to do exactly what their namesake is.
It's kind of a spray and pray, if you will, with this team, right? They'll go out and they think, hey, this worked last time, let's go for it. If they can temper that, if they can refine that a little bit more, then they can become a better honed weapon, I feel, with a lot of these teams. Against Cunningham's, this is where it worked the best. Cunningham's was still trying to set up where they were going to go on their maps, and Googly Bobbers at the beginning said, go for it. Just attack, go for it. And it won, and it was the biggest comeback, one of the biggest comebacks we've seen in Season 4. Will it work every time? No. That's where they have to refine themselves. That's where they have to temper it. And you got to harness that spoon. You got to harness it until it's ready.
Rein the spoon in
Yeah.
is what they need to do, because he's just a wild spoon.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Wild spoon.
Just throw the spoon around.
Well, and they
all
didn't
they do.
have spoon and zombie food with them a couple of times. But you said that every battle that Googly Bobbers has used spoon, they've lost.
That was
Before week 4.
Before week 4. That was before they
Yeah.
fought Refusers Die. After that, Spoon shows up, and there's some wins in there.
And that's how it goes. That's
Yeah.
how it goes. All right, moving on to Bernal Empires here. One of the biggest surprises I'm seeing out of this team, especially with what we saw in week 4 against River of Blood. 3-0? What is happening here? First off, their best map is on Cliff, which in week 4 we only saw once.
What?
Out of all 32 battles, we only saw Cliff once.
I'm surprised. Did we even see steps in week 4? I don't think so. Maybe once.
We did once.
Once.
Fun Gaming versus Simple Tinkers.
Oh, okay. That makes some sense.
And that was the last battle that won. Anyways, there's two spectrums of Bernal Empires right now, and it's both ending in tiebreakers, these type of spectrums. You have one super aggressive, catching their opponent off guard, doing well, Hammer Time. The other,
Yeah.
coming back from the dead almost, but it's taken them to the tiebreakers, one a loss, one a win. It is this patient play. I'm quoting GeForcer here. He says, we feel we're aggressive. We want to take our time doing so, right? Like we're patiently aggressive. They need more patience when you're ahead. Is it the most exciting thing to do? No. Is it the best tactful thing to do? Yes. I'm not saying you have to camp every game, but if you're up 2-0, wait for your opponent to come across the train tracks on Prohorovka.
Maybe, yeah.
It would have been
And
completely different if
That's
they did.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Bernal Empires could change up their strategies and do a better job at reading situations, and then making the right choice. There are situations like against Hammer Time and against Cunningham's when they have to consider much more of what they're going to do against a team like Hammer Time, against a team like the Cunninghams, against River of Blood.
Real quickly,
Go ahead.
if they're comfortable with being aggressors, they must learn to be comfortable with being the defenders.
Yes.
That is the biggest thing for Bernal Empires. Moving on to Gong Fu, bottom of the bracket, 0-4. This team has had a really rough road in Season 4. Issues that happened with illegal mods, issues that happened with sharing of accounts. The team leader and one of the team individuals, players, have been removed from the league. However, they worked well with us in the past. We have a new leader for the team, and they recognize that they're not going to make it to the finals. What they do recognize is that this is a great opportunity for them to play every single match for the rest of the season and to learn from these teams. And we saw that in week 4 against Fnatic. Fnatic won 3-0, but there was still tactics that Gongfu was trying to do to play their game against Fnatic. And even though Fnatic may not have played their A game or was putting 100% into the match, we don't know that for sure. We have to verify that with Fnatic, but that's besides the point. What is the point is that Gongfu still is trying, and that effort is going to refine them into a team that will be better next season, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and the week where they can change their rosters, update it, add new players is coming up, so they will be able to try and pick up new players with new skill, new talent, fresh energy, I think is a big thing too, because you're getting burnt out. There's no one who isn't a little burnt out after losing 4 weeks in a row and practicing as much as they are. It's insane. If you aren't a little bit demoralized or you don't need a pep talk, something's wrong, or you are a king. I mean, all power to you. They're going to need some new talent in there again. They're going to need people who are motivated with a different perspective that can bring something. Terry does great.
He does. Terry Loves
Gongfu.
Bird, great performer, performer. The biggest weakness of Gongfu is they keep sending individual tanks out to explore, to think, I'm going to get a couple shots and move back, but they keep getting trapped. We saw that against Hammer Time on the east side in Prohorovka. It was neat to see that. The water side, they got completely countered. So they have strategies. They're getting countered, but they need to play tighter as a team. Moving on, River of Blood. Cinderella story once again, Rookhill.
Yeah,
it's just happening again.
It's a back and forth this time, though. It's a win against Googly Bobbers, a lose against Fnatic, a win against Refuse to Die, then again a lose.
Yeah, well,
they just can't stay consistent, though.
They're in comfortable territory. They know this territory where they have to be in a must-win scenario. The thing is, their best map is Himmelsdorf. Why is that? They're playing tight as a team. When they play tight as a team, they get the wins. They get the brawl wins. They do well. When they play spread out, when they're having 2- and 3-man teams that are on different sides of the map trying to turn engagements their way or turn to the flanks against these teams, it's not working for them. It's getting thrown back in their face. And they either have to stick to what they're good at with those brawls, or they have to learn when to properly time their flanks and when to properly fall back and when to properly push, because it's not working in their favor when they're choosing those type of strategies.
Yeah, it's just the fact that all these guys love those heavy tanks. They just seem to perform on when you put them in IS-3s and 5100s. And that's the strategy River of Blood thrives on, when they're just forced by the map, not using the map to create the choke points. The map has the choke points, and so River of Blood does. So, which results in all these brawls that River of Blood does well at, because they're coordinated then.
Of course, you have to play tighter on the city maps, and they're doing well. But the thing is, can they overcome that? Can they do it on the more open maps? Yes, but they're going to have to look to simple tankers. They're going to have to maybe work with simple tankers or do something with simple tankers to get better at those more open maps. That's what's very important.
And Dodoma is the top performer for River of Blood. I feel like he's carrying the team a little bit because he's so consistently dealing damage. He leads them by thousands of points of damage. He also has 23 kills, which is 15 more than anyone else on River of Blood. I mean, he is absolutely disgusting.
Keep him alive. Looking at Refuse to Die, the final team we're going to discuss here at Talking Tanks. They're 2-0-2. 6 league points. They're above River of Blood. They defeated River of Blood last week. Or, excuse me, that was Bernal Empires.
2 weeks ago.
They defeated them 2 weeks ago. Well, they didn't defeat them. They brought them to a tiebreaker, and they still lost. But it was close. It was close enough to think, okay, Refuse to Die, this is intriguing. You're a different team compared to what we saw in the past. And to break down for you guys what happened with Refuse to Die, they got knocked out of the league. They went through
Season one.
They
knocked out of the league.
They went through some changes as a team, branding-wise. A lot of false promises happened with them. They overcame that. And to Garrett's credit, a bag of kittens, he continued to push as a team, to work together as a team, and now they're on the up and up. And they have a shot at the finals.
The thing about Garrett, though, is he seems to be the kind of leader for his team that does not get demoralized hard enough to really, truly quit. You could see it when we talked to him before in previous seasons after they got their butt kicked for an entire season, had to get relegated out. You could tell he was sad. He was demoralized. He was upset. He was stressed. But he kept going, and he kept his team around him. They're making changes here and there. They have to replace players to get new guys. Refuse to Die refuses to quit.
They do. They refuse to draw. They refuse to quit.
They refuse to stop.
Best map is on Abbey, which is impressive. So look out for that continually in the season. In week 4, they defeated Refuse to Die, the last map on that, and a 3-0 was, or they defeated Googly Bobbers, excuse me.
Yeah.
The last map on that was Abbey in a 3-0. Can they accomplish moving to the finals? If this was a team from season 1, no. This team in season 4, yes, they can. They have improved. They have the motivation. And false promises from outside sources would have broken a lesser team.
Most definitely.
Well done to Refuse to Die. All right, let's take a look at next week's matches for Bravo Division. It's happening on Friday. Kung Fu versus River of Blood. The Googly Bobbers versus Hammer Time. Bernal Empires versus Refuse to Die. And Fnatic versus the Cunninghams.
Ooh, that Fnatic Cunninghams game is going to be big. This is where the Cunninghams get to prove if they're really improving as much as they say they are. And Fnatic, again, gets to assert their dominance. Or maybe we'll get an upset. I don't know. Clutch, do you have any expectations for the Cunningham's performance in that match?
I feel that they are going to start sweating when the Fnatic is not pushing until the 3-minute mark.
Oh,
kind
dude.
of what happened in the past.
When are they coming? What are they going to do?
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest question they're going to be asking themselves. All right, well, that does it for Talking Tanks. Let us know what you guys think of these different teams. Which teams are going to make it to the finals? Make sure to follow us on Twitter at WGLNA, Facebook.com/WGLNA, hashtag WGLNA. I'm really looking forward to what's happening for the rest of the season. 3 more weeks, and then we're going to have the tiebreakers and the playoffs, and then we're going to know which teams are going to be joining us. More information about the finals will be revealed very, very soon. Stay tuned for that. Rookhill, any final words for any of these teams before we sign off?
I'm always impressed with Refuse to Die. Fnatic looks amazing. Simp, always good. Fun gaming is surprising me.
A lot of people are really getting behind those hold my beer tactics from
yeah.
the Googly Bobbers, but they're going to have to reach down deep and pull out some of these cards that they need to practice with other teams or something, or emulate some of these other teams around the world in order to perform well, because they're in a must-win scenario right now as well.
And then do you believe in River of Blood? Are you in the belief business?
I'm in the belief business. How
right.
could I not be? They're off the struggle bus. It's time for them to show up and blow up.
All right.
And then with that, ladies and gentlemen, we wish you all the best, as we will see you next week, Thursday, July 17th, for the Alpha Division. On behalf of everyone here at the WGLNA, good night and good game.